Let me highlight a disgraceful case of how Australia is letting the evil regime of Iran off the hook and letting down brave, oppressed women in the process. Iranian women are some of the most abused in the world, ordered by law to wear Islamic headscarves, arrested in the streets by morality police if they don't uphold those and other strict measures, including curfews, and they're sometimes dying in custody because of all this. Remember this case from just 2 years ago?
They're protesting the death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini in Iran. The UN says Amini was with her brother in the capital when she was arrested last week for what was considered to be an improper hijab or head covering. There are reports she was beaten on the head with a baton. Amini fell into a coma shortly after being arrested and died 3 days later.
That terrible case triggered some protests in the West. Not enough, mind you, because the feminists of the West are never particularly active when it comes to women in the Muslim world. But importantly, it triggered brave but deadly protests inside Iran.
Across Iran, anti-government protests have raged for more than a week. Authorities are using live rounds to put down the dissent. Women have risked their lives to burn their headscarves in defiance of Iran's religious laws and morality police.
When you see that sort of oppression and that brave resistance, it defies belief that we've heard an Australian senator praising the treatment of women in Iran. It's even more astonishing given that that senator arrived in Australia as a refugee from Taliban-controlled Afghanistan. I showed you this last week.
Incredible place that Iran is allowing for women to participate in the workforce, to ensure that they have a voice and their voices are heard. They're involved in the democratic process.
Talk about propaganda. Dying in custody for not wearing a scarf is not being part of the political process in the normal meaning of the term. But have a look at who Senator Payman is talking to. That microphone belongs to Press TV. That is, the Iranian state broadcaster, a television station that spreads propaganda for the Islamic Republic of Iran. Yeah, they were filming that interview in Sydney at the University of Western Sydney, an event hosted by them. But how can that be? You see, some Iranian entities have been banned in Australia under sanctions aimed at fighting Iran's human rights abuses. And as announced in this press release from Foreign Minister Penny Wong just 2 years ago, the banned Iranian entities include Press TV. The state-backed TV channel said the press release, which has broadcast forced confessions by Iranians detained and tried in politically motivated cases. That was the announcement, but clearly Press TV is operating in Australia. Their website lists Shahana Butt as a Sydney correspondent, and she describes herself in LinkedIn as Sydney-based. Liberal Senator Dave Sharma has unearthed all this and raised it in Parliament.
Press TV had an official presence at this event in Western Sydney. They seem to be operating openly. They obviously broadcast parts of the interview which served their own interests on state channels. Should they be able to operate freely like this in Australia if they're subject to our sanctions regime?
Do you want to answer?
Perhaps I can jump in.
Yeah, you guessed it. The Foreign Minister provided no answer, and departmental officials were left to say that they would now investigate all this. Senator Sharma has now written to Senator Wong seeking more information and more action. But if we don't enforce sanctions, what's the point of having them? And if we can't stand up to Iran over the persecution of women, then what else are we turning a blind eye to? And if Penny Wong is not diligent about enforcing sanctions aimed at protecting the rights of brave Iranian women, then what is she diligent about? What a weak country we've become on international affairs under Labor.